Hello, Peter. I've set up the center section here so that it's in a slow flight mode. This particular configuration sets the center section of the wing at about a 10-degree angle of attack, and according to my code, that yields a flight speed of about 25 miles an hour, but that's without flaps. So with flaps, maybe 22 miles an hour, something like that. But this is the configuration that the center section and cockpit would be in for slow flight, assuming that the relative wind is parallel to the floor of the garage. Anyway, so what you see here with the new configuration, let me get in a little closer here, see if I can point my light stick. The uprights here, they are an inch longer than they used to be. I did that so that there would be sufficient headroom. Wasn't sure if I was going to eliminate the tail boom right away, so I made them a little bit longer. And the pilot's cage itself, the bottom of the cage, this point here, of course the whole bottom cage has been moved aft about an inch or so, maybe 2 inches. So the cage has been shifted aft so that I have more room between my butt and this cross member back here, and it gets the control stick and the flaps close enough to me when I'm hanging straight down from the empty center of gravity. And the end result is that the headroom here ends up being about the same. So I made it a little bit taller, but I skewed it aft, and you get about the same headroom. The configuration doesn't look too much different, and the only time you really see the difference, if we come up here and we look at the front strut, so the only time you really see a difference in the configuration here is with the front strut. It used to be angled, actually at this angle of attack it was angled slightly forward, and now it's vertical. In higher speed flight it actually angled back. So that is the only visual cue that the bottom of the pilot's cage has been shifted aft. The other thing I should point out that I've done is the brackets here and the mount for the tube. What I did is I lowered this back down slightly. The amount that we had brought it up so that the center section was parallel to the bottom of the pilot's cage, I cut that distance in half. And I did that so that this tube, the aft vertical, when folded up, sits neatly on top of the front vertical. When this folds flat, this one sits flat on top of it, and it's the minimum size package that way. So that means now, instead of there being 0-degree difference between the bottom, or between the pilot's cage and the center section, there's now about a 2.2 degree difference between the two of them. The center section of the wing is at about a 2-degree angle of attack relative to the pilot's cage. And I think now that we've had the experience of where the nose has to be pointed when you launch, this will be fine. And this way the center section package is up about as small as it can to go in the trailer. So what you see here is I've attached my highly technical plumb bob here at the empty CG that we measured before. Now the CG when we flew it was a little bit after that, the empty CG, because we had 15 pounds of wheels down here in this area, and we had about 5 pounds up front, so we had shifted the CG slightly aft. But without the wheels, the empty CG is where you and I measured it before, right about here, and the plumb bob goes straight down. You see where it's hanging. So really, relative to the pilot's cage, the center of gravity is right where the rear struts intersect at the bottom of the pilot's cage. So in other words, I want to be hanging so that the middle of my body, the belly button halfway from my front to my back, should be lined up with these fittings. And that way I'll be hanging straight down from that. So I'll bring you back in a bit. I'm going to hook up the harness here, and then I'm going to hop in. We're going to take a look at that. Okay, so here we are. I've hooked the harness in to the second hole up here. And that second hole, and if you can see it here, that second hole lines up with the mark for the center of gravity, straight across. So I was at least wise enough to make one hole, pair of holes line up with the empty center of gravity. And then we have 3 after that. And I think that we've tried flying it set back in here somewhere, but I can't remember exactly what we did. But it's clear here that the harness is hanging the same way as the plumb bob was, straight down, and the hang straps here are lining up with the fitting. You know, if we extended those down, they're lined up with where we'd like to have the center of gravity in flight. So now I got to set up a little tripod, stick this camera on it, then I'm going to hop in, and we'll see where I end up hanging. Okay, so here I am. I'm sitting in what we would hope is a normal flight position. You know, I'd have maybe my hand down here on the flaps or the side grip, and I'm on the side stick controller over here. And looks like I got plenty of throw on that. As long as I sit to one side. Since I repositioned the control stick, it's about an inch closer to the center line, so I have to stay out of its way with the feet up. But so here, when I'm sitting like this, we can see, here's my belly button right here, center of my body. Yeah, it looks like I'm in just about the right spot. I would say that my center of gravity is probably right where these posts attach, or at least close enough. And you know, it could be adjusted. I can adjust in flight. I can go a couple inches aft and go a couple inches forward. It's not bad. Now, in the flight where I've gone into a seated position, I have the back of this thing's a little folded up crooked on me. I'm going to get up out of my own way and sit back in this thing like I normally would. So this would be normal flight when I'm sitting, and the center of my mass is now, here's my belly button here, the center of my mass is actually about an inch, seems like it's about an inch further forward. As I hang here, I can feel on the straps and so forth that these straps, the verticals, are now about an inch further aft maybe, but my belly button and the center of my mass, I think, maybe I still am at the post. I don't know. It's a little hard to tell. I do have enough room behind me now, but I think this would, if I'm holding the side grip here, this is the kind of position I'm going to be in. And I would say that if I hung the plumb bob from here, yeah, maybe I'm in the right position. We'll probably be able to tell better when I take a look at this video and do a little bit of editing on it. But I think I like the new control stick. I got to make new control horns for front and rear gears up there. I changed the design, and I need to make one of the holes smaller, and you know how difficult it is to make a hole smaller, so I have to make new control horns. But I think this is going to be the configuration here. There's enough room for a helmet here, barely. Much better when you recline. Back like this, you know, we've got lots of clearance here, and I can still reach the controls, barely. And my feet barely reach the cross member up front. Could probably shorten the whole front end of the cockpit. Probably bring that back, literally make it smaller and save some weight and so forth. There still need to be some straps that go from the shoulder harness here up to here so that you can lean back against those. So that's where we are right now. I think my center of mass here is about appropriate when I'm reclined. I'm not sure it's exactly where we want it when I'm seated. Maybe it is. But I guess we'll find out when we take it out next time. But anyway, there we go. That's how it's set up. I'm going to take this apart now and get the components here painted up a little bit. We'll make them the same color as the control stick, protect them from the sun. So thanks for watching. Fly safe. Bye for now, as I always say. But yeah, let me know if you have any further comments or questions. And I got to get to work on the borderlines for the wings and the new bearings and new cables. I got quite a bit of work to go yet. I probably have 2 or 3 weeks worth of work ahead of me.